Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Comic Boom Comic Source collaboration. Time for DC Spotlight for the week of July 16th, 2025. San Diego Comic Con right around the corner. They did announce all the panels and programming, and invariably, like, I need to be in three panel rooms at once. Like, I have so many conflicts. Like, I want to go to the Spotlight, like, for this person, but then I need to cover this for the site. And then I have, something else personally that I would like to go to, or I have a friend that's having a panel that wants me to attend. It's like, oh my God. I mean, the absolute definition of first world problems, but oh my God, like, even like there's a panel going on, like, after, like, so the Bad Idea party starts at 7. I usually go and help set up. So I'm usually there by like between 5:30 and 6. There's a panel I need to go to at 6. Plus there's a press room at that time that I normally cover, that I've been invited to. So it's like I need to be in the panel and the press room and like 10 miles away at the Valley High restaurant setting up for the party all at once. So not sure how that's going to work yet. So obviously I can only be at one of the places. So we will see.
Yeah,
But again, complete first world problems. I'm
yeah,
really looking forward to it. Not least of which getting out of this heat. And
yeah,
seeing you and hanging out with you,
yeah.
Rocky.
And I just today I bought some electrolyte crystals that I can drop in my water bottle as I'm walking around San Diego. So I'll make sure that I'll be properly hydrated as I, sweat and walk around and stare aimlessly at all the cool comic book stuff. And I'm planning on all my panels now too, and all that. So I got all the check boxes and I'm watching videos, so I'm all hyped. So I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I mean, I will say, like, unless you're walking outside, it's not really very hot.
Yeah.
Uh, but it is a lot. I mean, it is a lot of walk. It's so much walking. It is so much walking. But yeah, most of the time, even the show floor can get a little warm. A lot of people. But that's why you break it up by going up to the panel rooms. The panel rooms, man, usually it's pretty chilly in the panel rooms, especially because you're not moving around.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I can get pretty cold in there, but yeah, really looking forward to it. Hope everybody had a chance to check out our full review of Superman. Rocky saw it on Friday. I've seen it twice myself. We started off the review by going spoiler first for the first, like, I don't know, 15 minutes or so. And then we warn you all when we're going to get spoilery. So if you haven't had a chance to see it and kind of want to get our spoiler free thoughts, you can do that. Um, and then I took a little snippet. I have there's a big plot twist in the movie. I took a little snippet of the full review and I put it out as a YouTube short with my theory on that plot twist, and that's been getting a lot of traction. People reaching out, going, "I thought, yeah, I like your idea," or "I kind of thought the same thing. That doesn't sound like them." And yeah, so it's pretty cool, and the movie did really well at the box office, so that's great to see as well. As
Yes.
far as this week of DC books, I thought it was a really fun week. And what I specifically will call out is a lot of the books that I normally rank highly in my rankings, or have ranked highly in my rankings, were sort of down toward the bottom. And books that were typically at the bottom kind of jumped up to the top for me. So that was really interesting for me. Plus, because San Diego Comic Con's coming up, and it's always hard. It's going to be hard to record next week because we're going to be packing or whatever. And I'm probably leaving actually to drive there on Monday, which is the day that we usually record. And then obviously it's very hard to read the books that are going to come out the next week following San Diego Comic Con. And again, I know these first world problems. And Rocky and I are both not even leaving San Diego till Monday. It's like we have to try to find time this week or this weekend to record like the next 2 weeks of books. Um,
Yeah.
in addition to recording this one this week. That being said, I've already read like half the books for next week, and next
Yeah.
week's kind of a banger week too, which is
Yeah.
great. Because this is, and I talked about this last year. Like last year was the year that it really hit me. It's so interesting that the books that come out on the Wednesday of Comic Con, the books that come out when preview night and it kind of kicks off the con, news starts coming out on Monday of the week of Comic-Con. News starts coming out from the publishers. They started that a few years ago, releasing the news ahead of time to try to get ahead of all the noise from everything that comes out of San Diego. Because here's the thing, with so many people being at San Diego Comic-Con and the books dropping amongst all the news of the other stuff that's going on at the convention, I feel like the books that come out the week of Comic-Con get forgotten. They're sort of like redheaded stepchildren. They don't get maybe
Yeah.
the amount of reviews and critiques and just attention that they normally would. I said
Yeah.
this, I think, last year, and I'm going to say it again. I probably said it on this spotlight, and Rocky hasn't gone to San Diego before, so he doesn't know. But this is something we'll talk about on Sunday night after the con's over. Monday, like we're going to read ahead of time, hopefully, and record it ahead of time. But just your general thoughts about like the books and comic news that is not announced at Comic-Con this week. Like those books just get forgotten. Like
Yeah.
they just, because everything is going on with San Diego Comic-Con. So
Yeah.
yeah, gonna be interesting,
Well,
to say the
we'll
least.
strive to do them justice then,
Yeah, yeah, and even the books, yeah, and even the books that come out the week after, to some extent, get a little bit of, not as much attention again because everybody has like con hangover,
Yeah.
and everybody's been inundated with all this news of comic books, comic books, comic books. So then the books that come out the week after, they're almost an afterthought as well. So yeah, I would. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Like I would be a huge proponent of not releasing books the Wednesday that of Comic Con. But I also understand, like, I mean, retailers need new product and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, I did think it was a fantastic week, and next week is great as well. Just through some of the press releases and things that are already showing up in our press previews and what have you. We've already gotten some news about San Diego in a way that not anything that we can share, but perhaps new writers on old series, on continuing series. Um, Again, can't say for sure. Don't want to get in trouble, but it's exciting. It's exciting times.
If
Exciting
you
times.
tease
So
you, everyone's going to be frustrated. You're teasing them just like you
yeah,
tease me.
yeah.
And incidentally, I don't know either. So, if for people listening, if Jace teases me too, and he doesn't tell me either, so he knows how to keep a secret. I tell you that.
I mean, I'm bound. They send me the emails and it has the information, and they say, this is top secret. Don't tell anybody, whatever. Not that I think Rocky would go blabbing, but I'm doing my due diligence.
Yeah,
Um, but
that's all
it
right.
is
It's
funny
all right.
because yeah, I'll reach out to the creator in question or whatever, and mention something to them, and we'll start talking about it. Or other creators, I'll be like, hey, do you know about the change that's coming up on this book? And they'll be like, oh yeah, I totally know about that. And I go, yeah, it's so and so, right? And what do you think? And blah blah blah. So that kind of stuff happens, but it's with people that are already kind of in the know. But anyway, what did you think of the week overall, Rocky? I mean, kind of a big week. 14 books this week.
Yeah, it was. Another big week. I didn't feel. I felt that I didn't really feel there was a significant difference in what I ranked uh, higher than what I would have probably guessed. But I think I know what you mean, though. There was a lot of. I think that it just so happened this week there was a lot of titles that I normally rank in my top five. They just happen to all come out this week, and so this was a particularly competitive week. It was almost as if you take the top, all the top echelons. Usually, it just feels like all the comics of my favorite DC titles happen to all come out this week that I particularly enjoyed because one of the things I do when I get these preview copies is I never read them in order. I always have a preference in my head, right? It's like, oh, I want to read this one first and this one. And I had a hard time choosing which one I wanted to read first because it was like, it was like six or seven. And so it's interesting. And, you and I were talking earlier, we know each other's, top five, generally speaking. But I mean, that can easily change because, man, it's really hard to rank in that mid range, especially in a week like this when there was some pretty good stuff that was out this week.
That's it. That's interesting. And when it used to be like we all bought like physical copies, we didn't have press previews or whatever. There weren't digital previews, and it was what goes to the top of the stack. What do you read first, right? What are you most excited about? That's 100% valid. When it's a giant stack and it's every DC book and it's digital, I don't read them. Generally speaking, I don't read them like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens in this book. Let me go and read it. When that'll happen is when I'm reading a book like for this week, and then I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe the way that ended. Do we have the next one? And I'll skip ahead, a few weeks and see if it's there, and I'll read it ahead of time like that. But typically the reason I don't do that is because I don't want to read all my favorite books first, and then I have like, oh man, I have these 3 books that I don't really want to read left over. But I don't order them at all. Like I order them the way they show up in the program that DC uses to share them with us is by the order that they've been added to the folder, which is completely random. You can choose to order them by like the name of the file if you wanted. So that would be like alphabetical, or you could do it by size, I guess. But my when I access the site, it defaults to whatever was added the most recent. I think is at the bottom. Whatever was added the furthest time ago is at the top. So I just read them in that order, generally speaking. But when I read ahead, what I usually do is I'll start reading like from the top as I normally do, but especially if it's late at night, I look at what's remaining in the list and I go, what's going to be the quickest read? Because then what happens is, I'll be like, oh, this is going to be a relatively quick read. And it allows me, like, if there's 10 books in there, I'll be like, oh, I can get 6 of them done. I'm already more than halfway, and I feel like I'm a little bit more accomplished. Like
Yeah.
I've gotten more done, which isn't necessarily the case, right? If I'm leaving all the books that take the longest time to read last, I'm not really more than halfway. But yeah, it's kind of funny that I don't do that, like because that was the way that I used to do it. But yeah, now I just go in order, because again, like it's kind of like when you're eating something, you have different courses on your plate. If you eat all the good stuff first, then you got to choke down the stuff that's not as good after, and that's the taste that you're left with in your mouth. So I just kind of leave it up to fate, the order that they're in there, and that's the order that we because that's the order we talk about them too. So I just usually go in order. But anyway, that's probably, you guys are like, shut up already, talk about the books. Okay, will do. And we'll kick it off with Robin and Batman Jason Todd, Chapter 2, written by Jeff Lemire, art and colors by Dustin Nguyen, letters by Steve Wands. So I can't remember where we rank this for the first issue. I remember liking it, but I don't know if it was in my top 5 or not. But this time, this one does make my top 5. It comes in at number 5 for me. But it wasn't in your top 5, Rocky. So give us your thoughts on it.
This was not in my top 5. This was actually this was actually my ranking in my second last actually. But that again, it's I guess look, the art's really good. I mean, I love the art. Dustin Nugent's art's fantastic. And in fairness, Jeff Lemire does a really good job here, in insofar as utilizing the character of Wrath or Wraith, I guess, which is very interesting because I think Wraith's first appearance was in a Batman annual back in the mid 80s or something, if I recall correctly. So it's an interesting use of the character, particularly for Jason Todd, because it's sort of in keeping with, because the whole central conceit of this Batman and Robin series by Jeff Lemire, this his second kick at the cat here is, first one dealt with Dick Grayson early years. This is Jason Todd. Jason Todd is, of course, he's not Dick Grayson. He's not fun loving. He's got a darker twist to him. He's more prone to violence. He's definitely the other side of the coin, because we know he ultimately becomes Red Hood. We know Jason Todd's fate. He's a demonstrably different Robin, and Jeff Lemire does a good job highlighting in this issue with Nightwing coming along. Batman wants Nightwing's help to maybe try to get through to Jason Todd and maybe try to understand him, because both Alfred and Batman feel that they're struggling to try to understand Jason Todd and they want to help him along. But in the meantime, in the meantime, we have this Wraith character that is sort of like a darker, more violent Batman. And of course, he wants to basically ultimately take Jason Todd Robin under his wing, or at least that's where it's going. And while I like the appearance of Wraith, I just feel like I guess I'm a little tired of Jason Todd, and that's not Jeff Lemire's fault. This is well written and it's well drawn. It just this week, frankly, there was just other things that captivated my attention more. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts, particularly since you ranked it so high.
Yeah, first of all, Wraith is definitely an interesting character. because there's multiple characters in the DC universe with that name Wraith, and they're all villains. And it's interesting when I went and looked it up. It's like there's 2 different entries. People aren't um, remembering that there's 2 different, because one of them showed up in the Superman Unchained. I think that's what it was called. The one that was written by Scott Snyder, the limited series that ended up being kind of late because it was Jim Lee art, and the art was like super rushed or whatever. But that character was named Wraith, and he was like really, really cool. It was almost a Doomsday-like character. But before that, there were 2 previous Wraiths in the Batman kind of corner of the DCU, and it was a Batman special from 1984. Mike W. Barr, I think, wrote it. I know the art was by Michael Golden, and it was really interesting, fantastic special. Because I remember, like, when you first open it up and you're reading it, and it's showing like Batman's origin and the origin of the race side by side, because they're very, very similar. Like, Batman's parents get killed by Joe Chill, right? Killed in a robbery, as we all know. We've seen the pearls fall 1,000 times. Wraith's father is killed by a young patrolman by the name of Jim Gordon as he's basically robbing this house. And the child Wraith sees this happen, and so it's kind of like there's similar origins, right? One scene their good parents being killed, one scene their bad criminal parents being killed, and so Wraith sort of follows the same path as Batman. Vows revenge on law enforcement or whatever, trains himself, blah blah blah. And then so that was 84, and then later, I think post Infinite Crisis, Tony Bedard revisited the idea of the Wraith, and the Wraith that was there. I think it showed up in 3 issues of Batman Confidential. It was like the sidekick, so it was like Wraith's version of Robin, and I think his name was Elliot something or other. Elliot Caldwell, that's what it was. And basically he was like the trainee or the sidekick of Wraith, and later he took over the mantle and whatever, and tried to take out Batman, and obviously got incarcerated in Blackgate, and wasn't successful, whatever. And then in the post New 52, they basically took those 2 and they mashed them together. They took the origin of the first one and the name of this and some of the characteristics of the second one, and they kind of mashed them together. So it's not completely cool. I think this is the mashed together version, but it does make sense here, where he's trying to relate to Jason Todd. He talks about being broken or whatever, because they definitely have similar sensibilities in terms of being sidekicks and not necessarily feeling seen or feeling like they have their own agency because they are sidekicks. But this is a Wraith that purports to be a good guy. He's out there killing criminals supposedly, so he's not doesn't really have the motivations of the first Wraith. He's more of like almost like a Punisher like character, and doesn't agree with Batman that he should just be incarcerating members of his rogues gallery, because it just ends up being a revolving door. So I like this version. I like the Dustin Nguyen art. Now, normally I'm not a fan of watercolor style. Dustin's been doing this style of art for like well over a decade now, and it is. I've never appreciated it more than I do on this title. Maybe this Little Monsters series he did with Jeff Lemire at Image, really liked it there, but that was very dreary, because those were like kid vampires, very dreary, as opposed to get some bright colors here. The thing is, like, when Dustin works traditionally, which he hasn't done in like I said, decades, but man, I've gone back at various times and looked at his like regular line art when he's not doing watercolors, and man, is he so he's so talented. He is so talented. But I imagine it's quicker for him probably at this point. He's been doing this so long with watercolors, probably faster for him to do it this way. But anyway, the reason this makes my top 5 is because of Wraith and the interesting compare and contrast with Jason Todd, Robin. Plus, this is the first time we're getting a chance to see early development, early relationship stuff with Jason Todd and Batman. And Batman, Bruce Wayne, and Alfred are saying the quiet thing out loud. As opposed to this didn't happen so much, in the regular Batman books at the time. Jason Todd and Batman argued a lot because Jason Todd wouldn't listen. But it was basically just Batman yelling at him, kind of like the tough love kind of thing, but not like not it's not going to do anything, because we all probably knew somebody like that in school, right? In elementary school or high school, somebody that got in trouble all the time, and they would constantly be, getting in trouble and told what to do and what not to do and whatever. And you knew they would just, like, if you told them not to do something, that would just make them that much more likely to do it. That rebellious kind of streak or what have you. Um, as opposed to what we're getting here, where you can see the care that Bruce Wayne and Alfred have, and the worry that they have for Jason Todd, and Jason not being able to really understand it because he's never had it. There's a scene where Bruce and Alfred are talking about Jason Todd and relating him to Dick Grayson, and they're not doing it in a way that's like, hey, Jason Todd doesn't live up to what Dick Grayson has done. They're trying to understand who Jason Todd is, and how they can reach him. And Alfred mentioned something about Dick having had loving parents, and Bruce himself, even though he lost his parents at a relatively young age, he had loving parents. Like they had values instilled. Both Bruce and Dick had values instilled within them by their parents. So there was a foundation there to be built upon. And they're basically, the comment is that Jason Todd never had that. He never had a good example. He never had a father. He never had a mother that he could look up to, because she was a drug addict and what have you. So it's really interesting kind of looking back, because again, this didn't happen when the Batman books were coming out at the time. But I think Lemire's doing a fantastic job of adding context to who Jason Todd is, and you feel bad. Yes, he's kind of a jerk here, and yes, he acts out, and yes, he doesn't obey Batman, and yes, he's making mistakes. But you can completely understand why, and you feel bad. You feel bad for him, especially with the knowledge that we have that he's going to die at the hands of the Joker. And yeah, it kind of makes me want to have a Jason Todd series going on right now, where he's finally redeemed. But then at the same time, if you do that, then what makes him interesting, right? You just end up with another Tim Drake kind of situation where they don't know what to do with him, So you kind of have to leave him as the broken one of the Bat family to have that dramatic tension and to keep him unique. But it's just bad. Like, he's, at the end of the day, he's just a very tragic character. And that's what really spoke to me. That's why I ranked it in my top 5. All right, moving on. We have the 3rd issue of the weekly Gotham City Sirens, Unfit for Orbit, written by Leah Williams. Hanning is the artist. Yvonne Placencia and Hi-Fi handle the colors. Tom Napolitano on letters. I went back and forth trying to find a way to fit this in my top 5. It comes in at number 6 for me. I just didn't have space for it. But man, did I really enjoy this. I specifically loved the sequence with Harley Quinn breaking out of the kind of the cage that she's been put in by Despero. We saw at the end of last issue, Despero was really flexing his muscles and kind of had all 3 members of the Gotham City Sirens under his thumb. We see Harley break out. I don't want to say it's silent, because she's in the club that they broke into, and the EDM, the electronic dance music's going off, and we get like sound effects on the page where it's going oont 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 oont, like we all know that bass sound. But it's fantastic storytelling from Leah Williams with basically no dialogue. It's not silent, because again, the music's pumping. But Hanning does a fantastic job with the script that Leah gave them, illustrating it. I love the agency of Poison Ivy in the issue. I love Catwoman. So yeah, if it wasn't such a strong week, this definitely would have been in my top 5, but it just missed out. But man, have I been enjoying this issue, and the colors are fantastic as well. So anything to add, Rocky?
Yeah, it came in at number 9 for me. And the Hanning art, I was very impressive. The layouts, I think this is the best the art's been in both series so far. The backgrounds are incredible. The level of detail in a lot of the scenes, even on the scenes that didn't actually technically needed it. When that you mentioned the scene where Harley was breaking out of her cage or whatever, the level of detail and the backgrounds and the people in this. You think this is a nightclub, it ends up actually being a spaceship of just Despero that he's going to be using to destroy the Earth, which is the big reveal at the end. But the level of detail getting there is quite something, because you got to wonder, why did Despero even let the Gotham City Sirens live? He kind of wanted them for his slaves, and so there's always some sexual innuendo there. And then they're protecting this kid, because they're there potentially to actually, they were sent to steal something, and then what they're supposed to steal is kidnap is this kid, but this kid is somehow tied in with Despero, and so this is still a lot of shenanigans are tied up in this issue, but it's a lot of fun, and I agree. Like, it's didn't make my top five, but I mean, like I say, it was just a great week, and just another example of why DC's doing such a great job consistently on most of their titles. But yeah, I like this much more than the first series. And Leigh Williams, kudos to her and hanging on the art. This is really coming together.
Yeah, next up we have New Gods, number 8. This does make my top 5, which sometimes this book does, sometimes it doesn't. This time it does. We're on issue number 8, Black Smoke Rising, Part 2. Ram V is the writer, Evan Cagle on art. We have Stipen Morian guest art and colors for the first 3 pages. Pablo M. Calar, pages 8 through 10. Francisco Segala on colors. This is fantastic. Those first 3 pages too, like basically a little bit of origin for Highfather, Izia, which is really great, and he plays a really important role in this book. He actually renounces, I don't want to say his throne. He's not really a king, but he's the leader of the New Gods, and was the ruler of New Genesis, and he doesn't feel that he's up to the task anymore, and so he basically lays his staff down, and he says it's time for a new hand to hold the Heka. He's not going to be Highfather anymore. He's just going to be Izia, and obviously that's very shocking to the New Gods. We get some Maxwell Lord interacting with Desaad. We get Scott Free and Barda trying to cheer Highfather or Izia up. So it's a little bit of a transitional issue, but there's so much emotion, and the foreboding of the upcoming betrayal. And we know it's going to be Seraphim that's going to do the betraying. He shows up where the other New Gods are. They ask where the other Forever people are, and Seraphim kind of gives a non-answer and appeases them. But yeah, we know he's working, with Maxwell Lord and what have you, and he's going to betray. And that the foreboding of that, the way that's set up, is done very, very well. And the art and the color work are fantastic. There's a few pages with Mr. Terrific and Miss Martian. I like the interaction with them. They're trying to see and discover who else came to Earth at the same time as the New Gods crash landed. And they know Maxwell Lord has something to do with it. So the interaction between those two is really fantastic. I think anybody who enjoyed Mr. Terrific in the film, in the Superman film, you're going to enjoy him where he shows up here. So there's just a lot to like, and a fantastic issue. Like Traitor in their midst, the main cover showing Seraphim. So in case you didn't know, in case you missed the memo of who's going to betray them, it's right there on the main cover, also for you to be told. So yeah, I just thought it was a fantastic issue. But I know it didn't make your top 5, Rocky. So what were your thoughts on it?
I put it in at number 8, but I quite enjoyed this issue. I love the setup. I love that Ramsey is incorporating a lot of emotion in this, and I didn't think he'd be able to do that. Quite frankly, I'm actually surprised at the level of emotion and character work that has been done in this series, particularly given the number of characters that Ramsey has to work with. I find that at times Ramsey doesn't always successfully manage to do that. At times during this Detective Comics run, I thought that he sort of lost handle on some of the characters, but I think he manages to manage it all well here. And for those that are following the Absolute Universe and the mainstream universe, and you wonder where Darkseid is, Maxwell Lord, there's some revelations here, because Maxwell Lord knows that Maxwell Lord suspects that Darkseid is still around. That he postulates the question: what if Darkseid didn't die? That there's this black hole out there, but it's not acting like black holes normally do. And Maxwell Lord has said that there's something's on the other side of this black hole. What if Darkseid's still alive? and he's doing something in his presence, and he's forming something else. And so there's little subtle hints in the way I read them. Is there's subtle hints of the absolute universe that ultimately are going to be discovered. Now, when you look at that in the context of this, the Nephilim, or the bad guys, that the darker forces that are coming to Earth to ultimately destroy High Father and the what remains of the new gods, this this chosen one, this child that ultimately scot free, and Big Barda show to High Father to sort of cheer him up at the end. Izia, or I thought it's Isaiah, but Izia, however you say it. But there were some really good moments here with this issue ending with Isaiah, Izia, the High Father, holding the child, the next generation, perhaps the new gods for the future. I thought was very, very fitting, and this suggests that there's hope for the future, because it's been doom and gloom up to this point, and there's this innocence that this child embodies, as well as a great power and a great hope for the future. And so, yeah, good stuff. And yeah, definitely, this is kind of what I this is the slow build that I like. So if we're gonna take 2 or 3 years to get to the absolute and mainstream universe overlapping, I don't care. Take your time, DC. Don't rush it. Take your time. I'm enjoying it. And if the new gods has to be stretched out and we get this type of character work until we get there, I've got no problem with that. This is good stuff.
It probably is Isaiah. I've always said Izia, but you're right. It probably is Isaiah. That would make more sense to me. So one of the few times that I've got the pronunciation wrong,
Yeah, I'm not
and you
posting
have it
fingers,
right.
my friend.
Yeah, yeah, all good. All right, up next, this is the first book on our countdown this week that is in both of our top five. It comes in my top three. Um, it's Absolute Btman number 10, and this is what I was talking about, where there's a few books that have been tending toward the higher numbers of my rankings, and Absolute Btman has been one of them. The last couple issues, I've talked about how it feels a little bit more derivative than the other Absolute titles. Um, what I mean by that is it feels more like the main universe Btman, especially because Gotham City feels almost the same as the Gotham City we have in the main universe, and so it doesn't differentiate itself that much. But perhaps one of the reasons that this did rank so high for me this week is that we are getting some big departures, even though it's Bane. We get a chance to see Poison Ivy in this issue as well, or hinted at Poison Ivy. Killer Croc is shown. Man Bat is in a roundabout way mentioned, and these are wildly different versions that we're used to seeing. So it's called Abomination Part 2 from writer Scott Snyder. Nick Dragotta's the artist. Frank Martin on colors. Clayton Cowell on letters. And yeah, it makes both of our top five. So I'll let you go first. What did you think of it?
I thought this was absolutely excellent, and I said I gave you my top five in no particular order, but in the order that I can tell you that this is in my top three, and I doubt it's going to go outside my top three by the time we're done reviewing. But I I love this. What I'm reminded of, if I would just, for those people who, back in the day when Bane was first introduced, one of the central conceits of Bane was that you slowly got to see how cool Bane was. Because Bane started off as a prisoner in Santa Prisca, and you saw how he was relentlessly powerful. Bane was sort of like the poor man's Batman, and how he trained and how he ultimately propped himself up to defeat Batman. Here, I like Scott Snyder's approach. This issue is a defeated Bruce Wayne, and we get to see how awesome Bruce Wayne is, how awesome Batman is without the cape, how amazing he is, how he's repeatedly Bruce Wayne escapes. It's Batman even without the clothing, without he's still a weapon. Bruce Wayne is a finely honed weapon. I mean, Bruce Wayne, I didn't realize he was 6 feet 9 inches tall. I didn't realize he was that tall. Holy moly. And
I did whatever. He's that tall. I was like, okay, fine. He's that tall. He's 421 pounds.
yeah,
What?
that's
That's the part where I
crazy.
was like, what?
I know. I
Maybe
had
they
no
weighed him.
idea.
Yeah, it did say that he had a bunch of like weapons, like implanted under his skin. Maybe they weighed him before they took all those weapons out. That's why he was so
Yeah.
heavy. But that's
Yeah,
huge.
I know.
421 pounds.
I know.
Oh my God.
And what I love how Scott Snyder tells this tale here of Batman of Bruce Wayne relentlessly trying to break out of this Arkham place and repeatedly failing, but almost succeeding, but always being defeated by Bane, who tells him, who keeps telling him, keep trying, taunting him. Uh, and I love the fact that they keep referring to Bruce Wayne, Batman, as Subject 27, which is obviously alluding to Detective Comics issue 27. Even when Killer Croc shows up, they refer to Killer Croc as mutation number 523, which I'm pretty sure is the first appearance of Killer Croc in Detective Comics issue 523. I think I didn't Google that. I'm just guessing because everything Snyder does is usually by on purpose. And in any event, I love the references here, and I love the fact that Bruce Wayne is missing for at least 90 days or longer. His mother Martha is looking for him. She's concerned about him. She goes to Harvey Dent and everyone's concerned. What happened to my son? She says, and of course he's being held prisoner, and he's trying to escape. And the manner in which this is told, what he endures, what his body endures, what he manages to put himself through, and he makes it look it looks like he's going through hell. His body has gone through hell, but Bruce Wayne can do it, and he's relentless, and he doesn't give up. And Bane totally respects him, but at the same time, Bane is Bane, and Bane is wants to take him on, and it just so happens that when he comes across Waylon Jones, because he was in there, Batman went in there looking for his friend Waylon, and we get a backstory of Waylon Croc Jones, who wanted to fight Bibbo. By the way, we know that Bibbo had the crap beat out of him by Black Mask at issues 1 or 2 of Absolute Batman, so that was a nice callback. We see a flashback that starred Catwoman. Selena Kyle shows up. I mean, weaving all this backstory, the flashbacks, interspersed with Bruce Wayne trying to break out of this prison, showing off his skills, and ultimately successfully, at least managing to almost at the end escape with Killer Croc. And there's an awesome thing. I mean, Batman doesn't just have a giant Tonka truck that he drives as a Batmobile, but when he literally rides Killer Croc, like that's it, like he's some freaking horse or some twisted dragon. Just a double page spread. Nick Dragotta is just killing it on the art. Just amazing. This is a fantastic issue. I gotta say, it's probably, I mean, I keep sounding like a broken record. It's my favorite Absolute Batman issue so far. I think I've probably forgotten about one. If there was one better, I forget, because kudos to Scott Snyder, Nick Dragotta. This was an excellent issue. There's lots I didn't mention, lots of Easter eggs in here as well, other Easter eggs. Maybe you'll mention some of them, but it's a high recommend, and yeah, absolutely deserving of being in the top 5 this week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the reason that Batman hasn't been in the top for me in the last few weeks, I mentioned it, is just a feeling that it's been a bit derivative, or hasn't felt special. Like maybe the story that's being told doesn't even need to necessarily be Absolute Batman. Like it could be, just in the main universe. That's not the case here. This is as you said, as you brought up, a 6'9" Bruce Wayne that weighs 421 pounds, who will not give up no matter what, who keeps finding ways to break out of his cell over and over and over and over and over, and this Arc M is definitely a body horror shop. We get hints of, they talk about how he's escaped, and this time he's heading toward the Isley biodome, or he's where the around the Langstrom experiments, or he's in the Clayface area or whatever, and so he's running into these versions of his what we know is his classic Rogues Gallery, but they're different, they're more horrifying, they're scarier. They're they're AF, they're dialed up to 11, and Scott Snyder has talked in the past about originally they wanted to call this Batman AF, and if you know what AF is in slang, you'd be like, man, It's like this is the epitome of Batman, and the way that they kind of tongue in cheek said, okay, well the AF doesn't stand for what it stands for in pop culture slang. It stands for advancing forward, right? And Scott Snyder's talked about this is a Batman that's always advancing forward. They even did an issue with Alfred narrating, where Alfred talks about the way that you're supposed to wage warfare. You advance and then you pull back a little bit, you retreat, you regroup or whatever, and that's not what Bruce Wayne is about. Bruce Wayne's about always advancing forward, never giving an inch, never giving up. And this is the most AF issue ever, because this is a Batman that will not give up, no matter what. No matter if they take his clothes, they torture him, they shave his body, they have to insert a feeding tube. He's making explosives out of his waist. Like, this is a Batman that will not give up. Like, every time Bane captures him, each subsequent time where he escapes and Bane captures him, Bane damages his body more.
Yeah.
And, we're told
My
he had to spend some.
my personal favorite is when he uses one of the feeding tubes to take out his own stomach acid, to shoot acid on one of the doctors.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
And
awesome.
we're told, he gets captured by Bane. He had to go to the infirmary, and then he had to go to. He gets captured by Bane the second time. He spent quite a bit of time in the infirmary. Then when he gets captured by Bane the last time, he spent extensive time in the infirmary, like healing. But he doesn't care. He still will not stop. He will not give up. And there's something to be said for that. I mean, this is what Scott Snyder wants Absolute Batman to be. A Batman AF, a Batman that's always advancing forward, that never looks back. That is he's kind of like a force of nature in a way. He's inevitable, right? Like maybe that would have been as good a name for him as Batman AF. Call him Batman Inevitable. Like the whole trope of Batman always wins because he can outthink almost anybody. So this is a Batman that's always going to win, because he won't stop until he's won. He will keep fighting until he wins, no matter what. And that is like expertly portrayed, both narratively from Scott Snyder and visually from Nick Dragotta. Because don't get me wrong, Bruce Wayne is getting his ass kicked here. Batman is getting his ass handed to him time and time again by a version of Bane who is way more powerful than Batman. But again, I think Batman will ultimately be victorious because he will not give up. And this Dr. Arkham and this version of Bane, I don't think they realize that toward the end of the issue, they start to realize just how relentless this version of Batman is, or it's the only version they know, but they're realizing how relentless he is. But they really don't have any. They think they know, but they don't really. They have suspicions, but they don't really know. They're not going to win the day because it's a Batman that's just not going to give up. And again, the visuals. You could make the argument that Nick Dragotta's version of Batman is body horror in of, because he's so big, he's so hulking, right? Well, you have to be at 6'9", 421 pounds. Yeah, you're gonna be a load, and he definitely is that. So, this was fantastic. My favorite issue of Absolute Batman in a long time, since the first arc. Definitely, I really really enjoyed this. So, Absolute Batman returning to my top 3. All right. Up next, we're staying in the absolute corner of the DCU with Absolute Flash. The Trials of Flash, Iron Heights Part 2. Jeff Lemire is the writer. A.L. Kaplan on art. Adriano Lucas on colors. Tom Napolitano on letters. Yeah, this didn't make my top 5. And I really enjoyed the first couple of issues of Absolute Flash. But for me, where it's been on a bit of a downswing on the last couple issues, a lot of it has to do with the art. So this came in I ranked this at number 13 of 14 for me. I didn't care for the art. I don't think that the art is up to the level of the story that Lemire's giving us. There's some interesting stuff going on with the Rogues, some teases of things to come or what have you. but I kept getting pulled out of the story by the wonky art, and so I just couldn't rank it any higher. I need Nick Robles back on this title. A.L. Kaplan, to me, he's done some cover work. I think that's where he's better suited, because I don't think his transitions are particularly good from panel to panel. The backgrounds are practically non-existent in most of the pages. It's just not. The art was just not my cup of tea, so it dragged this way down for me. So,
Yeah.
what do you think of it?
I kind of agree with you. The art is a little wonky for me. It's stylistic, but it's not so much that. It's really first and foremost the story. I'm a little disappointed with the story. Doesn't feel compelling enough for me. I don't like the Gorilla Grodd. I don't like the connection to Wally. I don't like that. It just doesn't work for me. I also don't like how the Flash and Barry Allen and all the rogues and all the bad guys that we're seeing are supposed bad guys. They're all connected to the same organization. It seems they're all connected to Thon, this female Thon, and it's all it just and like I just it's nothing's the plot hasn't grabbed me. The central plot hasn't grabbed me. I get it that Wally is sort of like traveling through time, or he's kind of existing at different parts of his life. He can see different flashbacks in parts of his life where he's simultaneously in the past and the future, and Barry Allen might be dead but might be alive, and maybe he can interact, maybe he can change the past. Wally, we still don't know exactly what Wally West's power set is in terms of what he can control and what he can't, and that is actually kind of a cool thing. I don't mind not knowing that, and clearly this Thawne character wants, Wally West is the wild card. She wants to get him under control. The rogues themselves seem to be sort of a sporadic group that sort of kind of doesn't get along with each other, uh, and they seem to be the pawns of Thawne as well. So you can already see the development of what might be sort of a at some point an unconventional team up or some mutual respect between Wally West and the Rogues. You can already see where those connections might start to begin, and that's not bad. But just something hasn't really grabbed me yet. It hasn't really grabbed me yet, and that's just maybe just me and the story, and maybe things will change. But and I guess we'll just leave it at that. Again, I wasn't a big fan of the younger version of Wally to begin with. I love Wally West as part of the mainstream universe. I thought this would have been an ideal time to put Barry at the forefront in the absolute universe. And that might even be misdirection. I mean, wouldn't that be something if Wally West ends up dying and Barry Allen takes the mantle in the absolute Flash universe? That would be cool. But that probably won't happen because they don't like to kill off teenagers. Um, but who knows? I
Well, I
digress.
mean, Wally's been done dirty by DC Comics so many times. I don't think
That's
they're
true.
gonna. Yeah, they would. I think they would fear the backlash. Would be all the Wally West fans going again,
Yeah, again,
again.
yeah.
We kill
I
off.
know.
Yeah.
Don't hate
What?
me. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that's how I feel.
What? I mean, we've seen hints that Barry Allen may not really be dead. You know what would be cool is if it was like almost like a classic Captain Marvel Rick Jones situation. Remember where he would, one of them was in the negative zone and they'd slap the negabands together. They'd
Oh,
bang the negabands and they'd switch places. Or like
yeah,
Ronnie Raymond, Professor Stein situation where they're
yeah,
sharing the kind of, so that would be cool. That would be a way to have both Barry and Wally and get from a sales perspective or a fan perspective, that might be the smartest thing DC could do is if the Absolute Flash was Wally and Barry, because then you're
yeah,
servicing both fandoms. But anyway, another crazy theory. I've been putting out a lot of crazy theories lately, so
yeah.
anyway,
You never know.
let's move on. Well, actually, before we move on, I wanted to let me just take a quick peek. I thought was there no, it must be in the next issue of Flash. I thought there was like a really really cool cover for Absolute Flash, but I guess that's not the case because I just looked at the covers and there wasn't anything that really stood out. I didn't really think there was any really cool Absolute Batman covers either this week. I should mention that since we already talked about Absolute Batman. Except there was one. I think it was for Sideshow Comics or East Side Comics or something like that. But it's a
Okay.
retailer exclusive, and it's Ben Oliver doing Bane, and that
Okay.
that one looks badass. But yeah, East Side Comics. but you can have order it from their website, and they got to pay for shipping. It ends up being kind of expensive. And so yeah, not worth it for me to jump through those hoops. But man, that is far and away the best looking cover. But anyway, moving on. Up next, we have Detective Comics number 1099. I can't believe that it's been 100 issues since we had the Detective Comics 1000.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's come out weekly most of the time, or bi-weekly. 2 issues a month for the majority of the time since it hit 1000. Because normally it takes like 8 years to get out 100 issues, and it definitely hasn't
Yeah.
been eight
Yeah.
years.
So they've been
Um,
pumping out 2 a month, haven't they?
yeah, for the majority of that time they have been, but anyway, 1099, written by Tom Taylor, Lee Garbett on art, Lee Lowridge on colors, Wes Abbott on letters. This definitely makes my top 3. I Man, was this so good. Very this is the conclusion of Tom Taylor's second arc on Detective Comics, and he's hit 2 home runs. He's knocked it out of the park on both these. I love this. There were laugh out loud moments. There were moments where you could kind of predict what was going on. The interaction between Batman and the Penguin was awesome. I thought Lee Garbett did a fantastic job on the art. There was nothing that I didn't like about it. So this was an easy pick for my top 3. We finally get to see the big bad that's behind Elixir, and it's this guy who, and I loved what Tom Taylor said, because it very topical in a way, but not overtly political. But here's a guy that is so concerned with living that he's in this hideout, and when Batman and the Penguin and Harvey Bullock enter the room where the guy is, this like shield comes down. This like graphite glass that's like unbreakable, whatever. And even the guy himself, Perpetuum Vita, which is Latin for always living, um, even he can't open it. And they're like, wait, what? What are you talking about? They're like, well, I mind control. I wouldn't want somebody to come and break in here and use mind control. And if I could open it from the inside, then they'd be able to capture me. So not even I can open this. And I have all the nutrients I needed. I mean, he has like hoses that plug into his suit that he wears that provide him with nutrients and provide him with the elixir that he needs to keep himself young. And he's like super old or whatever. And I'm thinking right along with Harvey Bullock and Batman and Penguin here. Like, they see this guy, he looks ridiculous in the outfit that he's wearing with his shower cap and what have you to keep germs, blah blah blah. Um, and the fact that he's so obsessed with not dying, he's not living. That's how the Penguin puts it, and completely 100% accurate, right? Like, there's so many things, and I do this myself in my own life, right? There's certain things where I'm like, I shouldn't eat this, or I shouldn't drink that, or whatever. But if you restrict yourself, if you take away so many of the things that bring pleasure to you in life, that are enjoyable and make you happy, then what's the point? What's the point of still being alive? And that's where this guy is. Like, he has sealed himself in this tiny glass cell for the next 5 years, and not even he himself can get out of it. Like, Batman's like, well, you already put yourself in prison for me. And I'll be here in 5 years. That's what you have to look forward to. Know that in 5 years, I'm going to be here when you get out, to make sure you continue to pay for the crimes that you've committed, and, the lives that you've taken or whatever. You get 5 years into prison of your own making, but that, your punishment's not going to end. Justice is going to be waiting. And the guy's like, my followers will never allow you to come back. They're like, your followers are already gone. They're already gone. They abandoned you. They abandoned this place. Their closest allies are dead, because the truth of the matter is that you created an environment of fear, and now they've all abandoned you. They all saw a chance to escape, and they did. And now you get to sit there in that cage that you made for yourself. You've self-imprisoned yourself, and you get to fear. You have 1,826 days of dreading when I come for you. is what you have to look forward to. So again, I thought it was fantastic. I loved Harvey Bullock. He had some fantastic lines. The Penguin had some fantastic lines. Um, there was nothing about this that I didn't like. It was absolutely fantastic, and not the typical way you end it. Where a guy's going to get away and it's open ended, so he can come back or whatever, or he gets thrown in Blackgate. No, here we have something completely different, where this guy has, imprisoned himself. So again, I thought it was fantastic. Really, really enjoyed it. What do you think of it?
I thought it was really good, and but the central premise was actually very simple. I mean, and that's one thing that Tom Taylor, when he's on his A game, when he brings his A game, he has a he brings a simplistic plot that has some complexity to it, but it's easy to follow and it's cool. And with good character work. And basically it's all the mystery surrounding what exactly Elixir was, this organization Elixir was in the first volume, in the first arc. Now we know Elixir is basically it's a centuries old organization that slowly built its power by promising longevity to various people around the planet by giving them just enough of their technology and medicine to prolong their life. A lot of it was placebos, a lot of it was just BS, and they saved the actual stuff that really worked, that actually provided longevity. They saved that for very special people that they wanted to be in the organization, in particular Ambrose and a lot of their bodyguards, and of course Perpetua Vita himself got all the best stuff. And so over the centuries they built up a power base. But ultimately, as you said, the message here is just very interesting. And there's a message here for us YouTubers too, by the way. It's like, maybe, there's a reason why I try to do I know you do it a lot more, my friend, but I actually I've joined some organization. I've joined some more groups here in my I'm more involved in the local community now. I'm getting out of the house a little bit more. I'm collecting fewer comics. There's a reason why I only review comics with you once a week. I could do it much more, but I choose not to. I mean, we have to remember to enjoy our lives, and it's not all in this YouTube generation. Of course, I'm part of it like everyone else, but there's always that question we can ask ourselves: how much is too much? Is our lives always online? Especially with the advent of AI, you can see where I'm obviously you already alluded to it. This is a timely discussion, and Tom Taylor, to his credit, is sort of he hints at these themes. And there's nothing better than a comic book that is a cool superhero comic, but also gives us something to think about in the under the uh, in our own lives. And so that's what I really liked about this comic book, is it actually made me think about other things. So good stuff. Oh, you're on mute, my friend.
Yeah, and the Lee Garbett art I thought was fantastic. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm looking forward to Mikel Janin coming back, but I was really impressed with what Lee Garbett did as well. All right, up next, this book does not make my top five, not even close. I think this comes in. Let me just double check. I'm pretty sure I ranked this dead last. Just double check that. Yeah, Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 41 from writer Mark Waid. Adrian Gutierrez is the artist. Matt Herms on colors. Steve Wan's on letters. It's a Bizarro World Tour, part one. It's a Bizarro story. I enjoy Bizarro stories, not as much as some, but it's Superman based, and I liked the story well enough. But this was another situation. It's the third of the books this week that do this for me. So there's one other where it happens as well. So I already mentioned Absolute Flash, and then this is the second one, but this is the worst offender. The art is just not. It's not my style. It's not my preference. Um, it was Adrian Gutierrez was okay on Blue Beetle. I didn't care for the ink splash. We get his chaotic style of art here with all the ink splatter as well. Um, it works less well on Superman and Batman. It's just messy. I don't care for it. The color works fine, and the story could be interesting, but I'm too distracted by the messiness of the art. I just I wish there was. Part of it is, they didn't do Adrian Gutierrez any favors by having him follow Dan Mora, who has a very clean art style. And what that does is it lends itself to a very classic feel, almost a Silver Age feel, where art had to be very tight, and you had to have very clean lines. A lot of it because of the way that comics were made back then. It was printed on newsprint. So if you tried to print this art style on newsprint, you just have a muddy mess. There would be no clarity of any detail because it's so, there's so many little fine details that just wouldn't show up on newsprint. The whole printing process is completely different. So you wouldn't be able to have this kind of style. And yeah, the art for me just kind of, time and again just pulled me out of the story. So that's why this comes in dead last for me. So anyway, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I respectfully disagree with you. I think the art works for me. I think this is Gutierrez's best art that he's done so far. I actually think that, given that it's a Bizarro story, I think he's channeling his inner Dan Mora. There are scenes here where it looks like a roughly drawn Dan Mora figure, and because it's in Bizarro world for this particular story, I think his style works for me. And plus, I really love the story here. This is a cool story. And so it really worked. I wasn't taken out of it by the art at all. It enhanced it for me. This is Robin, who wakes up, basically finds himself in Bizarro world. There's a virus in Bizarro world which is making a bunch of Bizarros speak normally, and this is causing chaos and this terrifies the citizens of Bizarro world, so much so that what do people in Bizarro world do when there's a plague? They don't run away from the plague. They run and they attack the plague. Everything is different and crazy in a Bizarro world. and of course, Batman and Superman have spent a long time looking for Robin. They find him, and ultimately they end up having to convert green kryptonite into blue kryptonite in order to hold off some of the Bizarros from attacking the Bizarros that are infected. And they end up in the Bizarro Batcave, where they actually meet the Prime Bizarro Prime and Batman Bizarro Prime, I guess. That's my way of putting it, at the end, to figure out what's going on. So essentially, this issue is just set up. But this is the type of modern day Silver Age tale that Mark Waid is pretty much patented at this point. And I just thought this was a lot of fun. And I thought the art was pretty good. I enjoyed it. And I did rank this. This came in at number 10 for me. But again, ranking number 10, and I'm speaking this highly of it, that just goes to show you how much I enjoyed this week. So, good stuff.
All right. Up next, we have Krypto, The Last Dog of Krypton, issue number 2. This is from writer Ryan North. Mike Norton is the artist. Ian Herron on colors. Lucas Catone on letters. This actually comes in both of our top 5s this week as well. Last time, the first issue was my book of the week. Partly because I'm a dog lover, and partly because I had just lost one of my own pups. I wonder how well this might sell this week with Krypto stealing the show in the Superman movie many times. So anyway, this was in your top 5 as well. What'd you think of it?
Well, it's funny, as I've shared with you before, I'm not a dog person. I've never grew up with a pet, but what I like about this is because I thought to myself, how the hell do you make a story about a super dog interesting for a guy like, for an old cynical guy like me who reads a lot of comics? Well, you do that by with Krypto. Krypto has some adventures, but who does Krypto run into on Earth? And lo and behold, his first technical owner slash friend, not much of a friend, but a friend nonetheless, I guess, or owner of Krypto, is Lex Luthor, a young Lex Luthor, or at least a young adult Lex Luthor. I'm guessing he's probably he's 17 years old. This is a Lex Luthor who doesn't have any friends. This is a Lex Luthor that resents the sort of his foster parents that are raising him, or his parents that are raising him. I think they're his foster parents or his guardians. And this is a Lex Luthor that has plans to one day, before he's 18, own 85% of Metropolis, and he's got all these master plans and he shares a lot of it with Krypto. And it's interesting that he even confesses that Krypto is his best friend, and that his best friend is a quadruped, and Krypto himself seems to be somewhat, just Krypto, to Ryan North's credit, I mean, I would guess he's probably a pet owner. This really, one thing about Krypto is that Krypto does dog things. It's interesting that Krypto doesn't show a remarkable amount of intelligence per se, meaning that he's not a super genius dog. He's just an ordinary dog. He just happens to have superpowers. But at the same time, you know, Krypto does uh, he is able to figure out that Lex Luthor is not a very nice person, because Lex Luthor does confess to struggling with whether or not to actually kill his guardians in order to collect on the insurance, and he builds a bomb to that effect to try to set things up. So Lex Luthor is kind of a really is clearly a bad person here. But what I found fascinating about this, and what I give Ryan North credit for, is that this is before Lex Luthor knows there's a Superman. And, the central conceit was that, if only there wasn't a Superman, Lex Luthor would have gone on to do so many great things. But somehow, if it wasn't for Superman, maybe Lex Luthor could have really reached his potential. What I love about this is that this shows that even without a Superman, hell, even with just a dog, Lex Luthor would never have done much for humanity. Lex Luthor would never have reached any potential. He would never have done any good, because at heart, he's just not a good person. At least that's the impression I got. And because at the end of the day, he's just too much. He's too self-absorbed. He's too selfish. He's too inherently narcissistic in all the ways, and the negative ways, and all the negative connotations that flow with that. And so this is sort of like this is sort of like taking the blanket, revealing Lex for who he truly is. He doesn't have the excuse of Superman anymore now that we see him without Superman even in the picture. And I kind of, that's what I really liked about it. And I like that Krypto saw through his BS at the end and just wanted to abandon him and leave him. So good on Krypto. So good. Krypto has good instincts as a dog, which you expect him to be. He's man's best friend, but he's not Lex Luthor's best friend by the end of the story. And I just thought it was very, very poignant. And if you don't know anything about Lex Luthor, and particularly if you just seen the movie and maybe you see this series, I think this is a good standalone issue. You don't need to know much else. Just this is a good standalone issue. It's got a theme. It's got a good story, and it has something to say. And I thought it was just well done. And I really liked the art by Mike Norton. I thought the art was great. And Ryan North, I read his Squirrel Girl. I enjoyed his Squirrel Girl, but that was such a different comic. I've not read his Fantastic Four, but I note that his Fantastic Four was nominated for an Eisner, so at some point I should probably give it a read. But in any event, I was quite impressed with this issue. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, interesting. They put a disclaimer right at the front, like about this is not this is a bad person with a good dog. True heroes care for their furry friends, treat them with love and respect. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, clearly Luthor is lonely. As much as he doesn't even admit it to himself. But there's a reason that he bonds with Krypto. He even says at one point, like, I'm talking, I'm speaking English to an animal that can't even understand me. Like, what's wrong with me? Lex is clearly missing something in his life. His parents falling out with Smallville. Lex himself manipulated things so he could be in Metropolis. Is sent to live with his aunt and uncle. They don't treat him particularly well, but it's what Lex wanted. But he doesn't have anybody to talk to. Now, this is a situation of his own making. And yes, he's very self-involved. He's very self-absorbed. He's very narcissistic. He is, to make a long story short, not a good person, but he's done it to himself. But this is Lex at a point in his life, still in the formative years, where he could have turned it around had he had the right people around him, to help him, make the right choices, whatever. Instead, he has Krypto, who he, talks to, whatever, but it's not the same. Krypto can't talk back. Krypto hasn't been in similar situations and lived through it and made the right choices. This is a Lex Luthor, a version of Lex Luthor that's sorely in need of a mentor to steer him on, onto the path. Because you're right, like this is a Lex where without his jealousy of Superman, maybe never contributes to society. So it's an interesting take, and I would argue that this is almost more of a Lex story than a Krypto story, but I'm sort of okay with that, um, because we do get enough Krypto, and we know the story of Krypto himself is going to continue in the next issue, and obviously, if you say it's a Krypto series, then yeah, we see him interacting with various members of the Superman family, including Lex here. Um, yeah, I'm a little bit okay with that again because it's so emotional and so well done. You're right, the Mike Norton art's fantastic. So, yeah, a lot to love in this particular issue, and yeah, it was in my it's in my top three. So,
Yeah.
give you the final ranking in a little bit. All right, up next book doesn't make either our top five. It's Batman and Robin Year One, Chapter 9. Co-plot by Mark Waid and Chris Samnee, scripted by Waid, art by Samnee, colors by Mateus Lopez, letters by Clayton Cowles with Chris Samnee. This is just okay, bit of a setup issue. We see Two-Face make his move. We see General Grimaldi, get his comeuppance, and we see, um, reading this in the same week, reading Batman and Robin Year One, Part 9, in the same week that we got the second issue of Jason Todd, Robin and Batman Jason Todd. I doubt that DC did that, purposefully, but what a great way to contrast how different Jason Todd and Dick Grayson are when it
Yeah.
comes to showing, emotion and being vulnerable and having emotional maturity and intelligence. And I thought the emotionality of this issue, it's kind of a heavy beat, from Waid and Samnee. I thought it worked really, really well. So, the first couple issues of this were kind of just okay. It's gotten better as it's gone along, um, but it is probably a story that's going to read better in trade, though. But I did really enjoy this issue, um, despite it not making my top five. It ranked at number 10 for me. But I moved it around a lot. I kept moving it down because there were other. I was like, man, if I had to, usually in the middle rankings, if I don't have anything in mind, that I want to put last, this will go basically for everything outside my top five. If there's a couple that I really didn't care for, I put those last, and then I rank my top five, and then the stuff in the middle, it's like the way I judge it is, okay, if I had to read this again or this again, what would I choose? And the one I would choose goes above. So I had this at 7 initially, and then it gradually fell, and it ended up at 10. But it just as easily could have been 7. I did really enjoy it. So, anything to add?
Yeah, I thought this was a fantastic issue. I ranked this at number 9 for me. But this in another week, this could have made my top 5 straight up. I love this. The revelation. What happened to the? I thought I was not expecting, and maybe it's just me, but I thought the general here. I thought this general was going to be a character that we'd see more in the future. No, he's taken out by Two-Face. And this general was someone who was he's done all these machinations by trying to take out all the elite, believing that one of these elite individuals, one of the high profile billionaires of Gotham City must be Batman. Well, he sends Clayface in to take out Bruce Wayne. That shenanigan, that attempt didn't work. But he finds out nonetheless that through some fairly decent kind of deductive work, the general finds out that Bruce Wayne is indeed Batman. He manages to piece it together from something that he heard Robin tell him while they were battling each other. And just when he finds out, he's killed by Clayface at the behest of he's killed by Clayface at the behest of Two-Face. And wow, and I love the character work for the general was so good because he hated his father and everything he did about setting the elite and setting the various mafia families against each other in Gotham City. The general set that up so well, and this issue is a really good synopsis. This issue summarizes in many ways in the first 6-7 pages. It summarizes the previous plot of the previous 8 issues. So this issue was actually very, very good at getting to the heart of matters, and then boom, hits you with that major, major revelation or major moment, epic moment at the end where Two-Face makes his move. I thought this was excellent, and Chris Samnee's art just highlights it so well. And yeah, I thought this is my favorite issue so far because it really feels like all the stuff that I've been waiting for, it's spilled to a head. And I completely was not expecting this. I thought the general was going to be somebody that we would see more of, but apparently not. But so kudos to Mark Waid and Chris Samnee.
Yeah, I was a little surprised to see the because he's been such a main character. We got so much of him,
Yeah.
issue in and issue out. So to have him taken out here, I mean, it was a great twist. Um, but yeah, it was just very,
Didn't expect it. Yeah.
very, yeah. That's the best way to put it. It was really unexpected, but in a good way. Like
Oh
it's good
yeah.
to be surprised, as opposed to, okay, here we go again. Same old same. Um, yeah, that wasn't the case at all. And was there? I think there was. Was trying to see if there was a cover that I wanted. Yeah, I don't think any of the covers really stood out to me. Okay, up next we have Titans number 25 from writer John Layman. Pete Woods on art. Wes Abbott handles the letters. Pete Woods handles the colors as well. So I really enjoyed this. Nothing particularly, nothing I could point to wrong. It just was an issue where there's just other things that I enjoyed more. So in a less competitive week, this probably would have made my top 5, but it came in at number 9 for me. But it made your top 5, and I'm curious if it has anything to do with Tara showing up. So give us your thoughts on it.
Sure. I just sorry, I'm not accessing it. It's not coming up. But in any event, what I love about this is that the same sort of writing style that John Layman has used in the previous issues, where he sort of jumps ahead. He sort of jumps ahead where we kind of know that the Titans in their battle against Deathstroke and Terra, that we know they managed to defeat them, and so we get a series of flashbacks telling us how they managed to go ahead and do that. This issue is called Bad Blood, and there's epic action sequences. Pete Wood's art, he's the artist and the cover artist. He's just a fantastic job. The battles between Terra and Changeling Beast Boy really stand out, and and even Vanadia and Cyborg. There's really great moments between them, and what I it continues to have that feel of the George Perez Marv Wolfman era for me, and I also enjoy the simplistic, easy flow storytelling. It's reminiscent of Tom Taylor, so it feels that way to me because I really enjoy it. It's really good, easy flowing plot development with very smooth character moments as well. I love the fact that this is a Teen Titans team that they collect their thoughts after getting defeated by Deathstroke and Terra. They decide, okay, let's review, and I really like the fact that they all contributed and they all input something. Mammoth. Nightwing says how Mammoth fights. Starfire makes a comment on how Killer Frost's her fighting technique is, and then Beast Boy makes the observation that they seem to be protecting. They seem to be protecting Clock King. And then they figure out that, well, that's what they're doing. There's something about whenever they get close to Clock King, that there was some villain would try to stop them from doing it. And so they inferred correctly that Clock King was probably manipulating some of the other villains, in particular Killer Frost, and potentially even Mammoth, and just really great moments. And there was a particularly, I think, a heartfelt moment between Cyborg and Vanadia, where he basically, Vanadia was Cyborg basically surrenders himself to her, trusting in her that she'll make the right call, convincing her that the Titans trust her and they're willing to put their lives in her hands, and just some really great character moments, and it just really worked well for me. I thought it was very well done. And at the end, the Titans, of course, in true Titans form, show compassion toward Terra, who unsurprisingly is abandoned by Deathstroke at the end. Deathstroke, always a POS, always, and of course, per Terra, she just doesn't learn. But nonetheless, leave it to the Titans to still extend an olive branch to Terra. And even though she's injured at the end, while Deathstroke escapes, she does. They do manage to, they're helping her and they're going to heal her. But of course, Tara is Tara. She's always, I don't know how many times the Titans have to learn that you can't, Tara seems to be a leopard that just can't change her spots. But hey, but on the other hand, you got characters like Shimmer that go and talk to her brother Mammoth and scold him for joining Deathstroke, and you got Killer Frost, who finally was of her right mind, because Killer Frost was a member of the Justice League, and then all of a sudden she seemed to be a villain. That didn't make sense, and you and I both suspected that didn't seem right, and now we know why. It's because of Clock King's mental manipulations. And so I just thought everything, what John Layman's work here, what he's done over these last 25 issues, it's really sort of, it's laid some groundwork here and it's paid off. And I really, I thought it was well done. And yeah, so I put it in at number 4 for me. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I enjoyed it too. Again, it's just a matter of so it came in at number 9 for me. Again, just a matter of so many great books. And yeah, Layman clearly channeling the Perez Wolfman run. I mean, Deathstroke and Terra, it's a classic team up. And yeah, the Titans win the day because they are a family, they are a team, and they're working together, as opposed to the reason why the villains, the secret society of supervillains here loses is for exactly the opposite reason, because they all have secrets, and there's no trust. So I was glad to see Killer Frost. I like her as a good guy. So to find out that she was being manipulated made sense. Mammoth, I sort of feel like he doesn't have enough brains to really be manipulated. So it was kind of interesting, whatever. But it was all about his sister, which is that's accurate characterization for Mammoth. And yeah, the Pete Woods art has been fantastic throughout the run. So no surprise there. So enjoyed it. All right, up next we have Superman Unlimited number 3. This is another one of those that previous issues, every one has been in my top 5. This one, it falls out of my top 5. It falls all the way down to number 11 for me.
And number 12 for me.
Yeah, and this, and even though it's a Krypto story, John Kent feels like a plot device rather than a character. That's part of it. I definitely enjoyed seeing Krypto, but the reason that this falls down, it's not the strongest story for me, and it felt a little disjointed. But the reason it falls so far down, like I probably would have had it like right around 5 or 6 if it wasn't 4. Just like Absolute Flash, just like Batman and Robin, World's Finest, this suffers greatly from art. Now, well, I should give credits before I go on. So Dan Slott's the writer, Rafael Albuquerque is the artist, colors by Marcelo Maiello, and letters by Dave Sharp. So don't get me wrong, Rafael Albuquerque is an incredibly talented artist. I love his work on many things, not least of which is American Vampire. However, his style is not the right style for Superman. His style needs to be colored the way that it's being colored, with this more muted palette that we're getting from Marcelo Maiello based on the line work that we're getting. But a Superman title should have bright primary colors, and it should have clean lines. And this art has neither of those things. And again, time and again, it pulled me out of the story. It felt wonky in places. I cannot express how much I disagree with this art team being on a Superman book. It doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So that's the reason I ranked it as low as I did. So, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, I don't. I can get used to the art again. It's the art doesn't bother me too much. It's a little stylistic, but I didn't mind the story. So even though I ranked it at number 12, I mean, geez, it could have been higher than any other week. I like this new version of Toyman, or at least a spin on Toyman. Who this Toyman is, this kind of like this one of Toyman's creations, is the new Toyman now, and he's a good guy. And ultimately, it's he ends up being sort of like, I guess, Krypto's new plaything, or vice versa. And I thought this is a feel good story. This is a feel good story, and one of the things, and this story is called Good Boy, and Dan Slott's the writer, and it's it's quite obvious, or I think it's increasingly obvious that Mark Waid is having an influence on the types of stories that other writers that are coming to DC are writing. More and more, we're going to get more of these, I think, lighter-hearted DC stories. I think they're slowly starting to accumulate, and I like this trend of telling stories that take place more in the past. There's more of a it's that the continuity is a little looser, and I think it seems to me that the writers at DC now are not afraid to tell stories in DC's recent past with different iterations of the character, that is additive to the histories of the character and adding to present day stories. And that's what I have the feeling that that's what this story was too, and I appreciate it. I thought that I this doesn't look like Krypto to me. It almost looks like the Monopoly dog. I don't even know what kind of dog that is, but but in any event, it was still it's still a lot of fun, with Krypto like running at the moon, and you learn. Hey man, if you've enjoyed the Superman movie, uh, pick this up. I mean, it's a decent read. It's still better than a lot of the comic books that are out there, frankly. So, uh, it you know it has its moments.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to credit Mark Waid for this. Just I think Dan Slott has a great handle on who Superman is. You're going to get timeless stories. He's talked about that time and time again. But I sort of feel like, I mean, Dan Slott doesn't have the wealth of knowledge about comics that Mark Waid has. I mean, nobody does.
Mhm.
But he's a pretty knowledgeable guy, and he's been reading comics for a long time. So they have the same sensibility. Um, and Dan Slott has a pretty big reservoir of knowledge to pull from. Mark Waid has an even bigger one, but they're sort of similar in their styles, and I'm a fan of both of them, and they're both great guys and
Yeah,
great
I think what
people
I
to.
mean to say is that Mark Waid is, I think, with the success of World's Finest, and since Mark Waid's come to DC, I think he's almost given his success has given almost tacit permission, and he's been a little inspiring, in my view, to
Yeah,
maybe other
yeah.
writers that are inclined to maybe explore that more Silver Age side of their personalities.
Yeah, I mean, Slot, there's various times where the DC's wanted to recruit him, and he always was exclusive at Marvel. Now he's finally not writing books for both. All right, up next we have Nightwing. We're up to issue number 128 from writer Dan Waters, Dexter Soy on art, Veronica Gandini on colors, Wes Abbott on letters. Again, nothing particularly wrong with this issue, and a lot of times Nightwing makes my top five, but it was a tough week. It comes in at only number 8 for me, but it is in your top five, so give us your thoughts.
Yeah, and this was a tough one. There's a couple other ones that competed for it. It was between this and Zatanna issue 6, which we'll get to. But I just uh, ultimately what made me put Nightwing slightly ahead of Zatanna was because there was another Nightwing in this comic this is the Nightwing from Kandor, the Bottle City of Kandor. I remember Nightwing and Flameberg from the old Superman family books of 100 pagers. The Superman family books had the adventures of Nightwing and Flamebird in this Bottle City of Kandor. And here Nightwing is going into that fifth dimension, basically to try to like shut it down. And he faces different iterations of himself and different iterations of Nightwing and various aspects of his past adventures, and he fortunately he's been equipped by Spheric Industries to be able to successfully battle whatever he confronts. But he ends up meeting the the version of Nightwing that is basically from Kandor, and he calls himself Nightwing Prime, the original article. But whether or not he's the original article, he's not clear. It's not entirely clear, but it is clear that he's a good guy. He's a good guy. And while he's doing that, and while Nightwing's interacting with Nightwing Prime, you have Mayor Grayson Lynn having a conversation with Commissioner, and she has some degree of regret, and she's and she regrets some of the decisions she made as mayor in authorizing spheric solutions to provide weapons to the Bloodhaven police. And so there's some movement there, and it's just seeing the different iterations of Nightwing and issues from his past. Like even there was a part where he even battles. Nightwing says when he was deciding to become Robin, he drew various outfits for himself, and at one point, these outfits even come to like these earlier costume designs that he had for himself as a young Robin, and they come to alive in the fifth dimension, and it looks really cool. I got a sense here that the artist Dexter Soy had a lot of fun doing it, and I'm sure he probably had to dive deep into some DC lore a little bit, and because there's the different versions of Robin and Nightwing that show up here. This was a trip down memory lane for me. And if you're a Nightwing fan, I think this is a must issue. Just for no other reason, just to look at the pictures and look at the fantastic Dexter Soy art, the fun he had drawing all these different renditions of Nightwing, and it's yeah, I really enjoyed it. And now where this is going, I don't know, but there's a sense of melancholy at the end here because this Nightwing, it's not clear if he's even real, but I want Nightwing Prime to be real because because I grew up with it, and maybe it was because that's when I first started collecting comics, was in that, mid to, late 70s or early 80s. Those were prime years for me. And I love seeing Nightwing Prime, like from Candor. And then of course the big kicker at the end, it's almost like he confronts a giant version of his dog at the end, which is crazy. So I just had a lot of fun with it. I think Dan Waters had a lot of fun writing it, and Dexter Soy had a lot of fun writing it, and Veronica Gandini on the colors, Wes Abbott on letters. This was a really enjoyable issue for me. Put a smile on my face, and I put it in at number 5, just slightly ahead of Zatanna.
Yeah, I mean, Nightwing, Flamebird. I remember them from back in the day as well, and it was cool to see. But again, just a strong week, so it didn't make my top. All right, next up we have Zatanna, final issue number 6. And this is, it's just another, again, it's been in my
Great
top
issue.
5 every time, but this time it doesn't quite make it. Jamal Campbell handles the writing and the art, gorgeous art.
Yeah.
Letters are by Ariana Mayer. We'll read better as a trade because there's a lot to wrap up here and there's a lot of moving parts, but I appreciate the lore and the world building that Jamal Campbell did. Obviously his art is fantastic, and anytime I get a chance to see Blue Beetle in a comic, I'm really, really happy. But yeah, just based on the strength of the week, this only came in at number 12 for me. So
Oh
yeah.
wow. Yeah.
What are
Well,
your what are your thoughts on it?
yeah, I put it in at number 6. I really like the character work here. Princess Allura, of course, battling the Princess Allura in effect ends up becoming a reluctant ally to Zatanna in their defeat of the White Lady, or is it the White Witch or the White Lady? Uh, in any event, it's the the story itself, it's well written, but one of the things that I find interesting about this is just how distracting the art is in a good way. The level of detail, and this is why Jamal Campbell impresses the hell out of me. There are panels, the level of detail that he goes into in some of these panels, like where he's drawing all these diagrams and these stars and these Zen diagrams, and it looks like he's drawing these magical designs. And why? He doesn't need to. He could get away with just doing something far less detailed, but he doesn't. He clearly has taken the time to go out of his way to draw an absurd amount of detail, and I mean that in the best possible way. I mean, these just the hellish landscape that he's drawing, and the people and the horror elements of this, and where the goo and the blood and the guts and just the color work, and Zatanna popping in and out and rescuing Blue Devil, and you've got the demon Etrigan is in there as well, and they're all interacting together, and and her rescue of Blue Devil, and with the help of Wonder Woman, and Zatanna very cleverly has a very clever use of the magic lasso of Wonder Woman, which Jamal Campbell, thank you. What a she utilizes the magic lasso of Wonder Woman in a very clever way. It's already the magic lasso, and of course, I never really thought about it before, but could Zatanna's magic enhance the truth powers of the magic lasso even more? Magic upon a magic lasso? Apparently that works that way. It seems to work. I just thought it was pretty cool. And the color work, which is you have all these dark reds and dark purples and dark and different shades of black, and then you got the blue devil, and then you got this powerful yellow light of the magic lasso and Wonder Woman showing up, and just these pages are absolutely beautiful, and the story is really good as well too. And one of the criticisms I have sometimes when you get into magic realms and magic comics is that sometimes I find that the settings are so convoluted that I don't always know what the hell's going on or who's doing what or what does this mean, and it's too much Duke Ek Machina. Not so here. I understand what's going on. There's a purpose to the magic. I know what she's saying. I enjoy reading the stuff backwards. It actually makes sense. I know what's going on. And there's really good character work here. And at the end, the character work and the relationship between Princess Allura and Zatanna, it's still sort of left up in the air. They have sort of an uneasy alliance and an uneasy sort of like breakup, so to speak. Very well done, and absolutely, it's going to read well as a trade. This is one I hope it comes out as a hardcover. If it comes out as a hardcover, I might pick it up as a hardcover. But yeah, this was well done.
Yeah, I mean the art just, yeah, it's incredible. It's just incredible. All right, last book is Wonder Woman. We're up to issue number 23. Again, this is a book that, a lot of the time, this is going to be in my top 5, but not this time. Mouse Man showed up last time. I'm not exactly sure what's going on here. Tom King, writer, Daniel Sampere on art, Tomeu Morey on colors, Clayton Kell on letters. So I ranked this at number 7, but I want to be clear that if anything, this week really shows how much I value, art. It's at least 50% of the story. Now, this would have been much lower, except just like I had a few books where the art brought my ranking down, in this case, the art brought it way up because the art's fantastic. And the art needs to be fantastic because when we're on this island that the Wonder Woman wants to go and look for Etta Candy is the way that I took it. But she's not allowed to. There was a vote, and in the end, unanimously, she's told by Mr. Miracle, they sided with the law, establishing both the UN and the League's binding resolution. So Wonder Woman is not supposed to go to this island. This island does not allow outside visitors. But everybody on this island, they speak in 2 sentences only. Mice have ears, mouse man knows. And they put their hands up on their head like their mouse ears. So that's all they say. Mice have ears, mouse man knows. And in the way that they say it, like depending on the inflections and what word they stress in the sentence and how many times they repeat one sentence versus the other, whatever, that's the way they communicate. But we don't have any idea what the hell that is. Like, we have no idea what they're actually saying. So you need really strong art and really strong sequential storytelling in order to, kind of get an idea or a sense of what's going on. So, I've said it before, Tom King really likes to experiment with his storytelling, with different sorts of storytelling techniques. And this is just him, again, using, a different device to tell the story, different sort of storytelling device. And it's interesting, but I don't really, understand anything that's being said, but we're sort of not supposed to. We get it from the context of Daniel Sampere's art. And again, like, you can facial expressions when people are shouting, whatever. So we don't know enough about this Moray Island to really fashion an opinion about it. But in the hands of a lesser artist, this doesn't work, and it's ranked 14th for me. But based on the strength of Daniel Sampere's art, that's why I ranked it at number 7, because the art is just gorgeous and really, really impactful. So even though not in my top 5, I had to kind of explain why I ranked it as high as I did. So what are your thoughts on it? I have a feeling you disliked it greatly.
Yeah, this is the worst Wonder Woman comic I probably read in 5 years. This was awful. This was just straight up
I knew you were
nonsensical.
gonna hate it.
I read this thing 3 times. Let me be blunt here, okay? Uh, uh, that this is something that I had no idea that I don't know. I never got the impression. I didn't know what Wonder Woman and the Justice League were talking about, that she can't go to some place. And I didn't know that this island was apparently where that's where these people are that are talking like mouses, or mouse this, mouse that. I never saw that connection. I missed that, and I read it 3 times. It makes no sense. This is this is I mean, I don't know. Tom King literally said, to the accusation that the Sovereign was the worst villain you can come up with. He said, "Hold my beer," and we get Mouse Man, and now apparently it's an entire island of people that talk like mouses. This is and then just these scenes are completely unrelated to each other. Wonder Woman on the Justice League satellite lifting weights. What does this have to do with anything? And I just this is just a dog's breakfast. And then at the end, I don't know what Wonder Woman confronts this girl that I guess supposed to. She looks like a mouse because she has her ponytail like that, and I guess a past version. She met Wonder Woman in the past, so or because um at the end, I got the impression that this was a different Wonder Woman, or that this was a scene that took place in the past. This is um
No,
I
no. She
yeah,
goes
I
to
don't
Moray Island to rescue Etta Candy.
where Maury Island. Okay, so
Yeah.
where is it indicated that that's Maury Island? Like where
Uh,
like where is it indicated that she's on Maury Island, and that
well,
it
you get that for the context of the story. Like she's not
yeah,
supposed to go to this place,
I
but she goes. She goes anyway.
but
Um,
why does she look? Why does her hair look different? And she looks like she's wearing a different costume. It looks like it takes place. I thought this. I didn't know when this was. If this took place 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, or 10 years ago. Is he trying to set up some mouse thing from the
the
past?
reason
Like
the
this thing
reason that
is.
her no the reason that her hair looks different is because when she goes there, it's this is not clear, but when she goes there, she takes Lizzie with her. She has Lizzie. She has her baby with her on her back, and so she can't. She braids her hair so that her hair's not just following in Lizzie's face.
Oh. Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense for her to bring her baby with her to a place she's not supposed to go.
It's
Yeah.
right there. It's right there on the front cover. It's right there in
Yeah,
the front cover.
I'm well of that, aware of that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's another example of again, I just this is just so boring to me. Like I just don't like this is gonna drag on. We already know where this is gonna go because we got a scene at we got a scene from like 3 or 4 issues ago. This is gonna end up with Wonder Woman and all the other Amazons dead on the shoreline, and okay, killed by Mouse Man. This has to pick up some steam at some point. But the good news is, people, is that you can rightly say that you can ignore what I'm saying, because Tom King's Wonder Woman was nominated for an Eisner. So as one of the best ongoing series, as much as that shocks me, he probably will end up winning.
That shocked
Uh,
you. It's so
and
good. This issue
it's
notwithstanding, it's so
yeah.
good.
Yeah, well, I love a lot of what Tom King writes. I personally think the best thing he wrote last year, by the way, was The Penguin, which he was nominated for as best writer, Tom King. And The Penguin, I think, was his best work last year. So it's just his Wonder Woman is just not my cup of tea. But Daniel Sampere's art, I grant you, is fantastic. But I honestly, my friend, I literally I appreciate you enlightening me, because I just don't. When I read this, sometimes I just shake my head because I just don't know where this is going, and it's hard for me to get into some of this where it just seems
Yeah,
so
you're.
out of left
I
field
feel like
every single issue.
I feel like you're predisposed to dislike it, and and you miss so much. Like, I, like, how did you not know this was Moray Island that she went to? Like,
Well,
it's
it
right
never it
there
just
where she.
shows. I
Again,
don't know.
you
Where do
said
you get
it
Maury
doesn't.
Island? Where was
It
Maury
says
Island?
Moray Island. See, again, I think you're predisposed to dislike it. So you're like, what does this anything have to do with? She's lifting
It
weights or
says
whatever.
Maury Island, but it says Maury have a. I'm looking at
Yeah,
the scenes that take place
Wonder Woman.
where the girls are.
Yeah, she says Wonder Woman. It's Candy. I found her and the child on Moray Island. So it very well could be that her child was kidnapped and taken to Moray Island, and that's why she went there to rescue. Like, we don't know that. I mean, it will be explained. But yeah, I found her and the child on Moray Island. Come quickly, we are not safe. So that's what makes, that's why I'm saying I think Etta Candy's on the island, because it says we are not safe. Come quickly. So yeah, I mean, you say it, yeah, that makes sense. She's going to take her baby to the island. Maybe she didn't take her baby to the island. Maybe Mouse Man kidnapped Lizzie, because it says I found her and the child. Like, I found her, like I found Lizzie and the child. What child? Well, this girl that she saves at the end. What significance does she have? Well, we don't know yet. Like, again, like I don't want to say you're not reading it carefully enough, but I mean, it's all there. And I'm going to give Tom King credit that, yes, even though everybody's speaking in this with just these two sentences, Mouse Man knows, mice have ears, Mouse Man knows. You like just ignore the dialogue boxes for those moments and just look at the story that's being told visually by Daniel Sampere. But that doesn't mean you get to ignore all the dialogue boxes, because the dialogue boxes
I'm trying to find the spot where she says, "Come rescue me on Moray Island." Where does
she doesn't say that exactly. You have to. It's on the page where she's lifting weights. Wonder Woman. It's Candy. I found her and the child on Moray Island. Come quickly. We are not safe.
Okay, there we go. All right.
So again, like again, you're predisposed to dislike it, and if you're like, well, what now? Why is she lifting weights?
It's just really. I just think that.
How did you read it 3 times and miss that? Like, I don't.
Well, I'm trying to figure out. There are a bunch of people talking like mouses, and is that I didn't infer that was Moray Island. It was never said this is Moray Island. And also there was no. It just, like, it's just saying this whole thing is the way it was paced, the way it was structured, the way it was. And it's such a dumb idea. Like it just the whole thing. It just seems odd to me. Like I don't know. It just, my God. Anyways, whatever. It ranked last for me. There's going to be no surprises. It's not going to be.
No, I knew you were gonna dislike it. I didn't think you were gonna read it 3 times and miss that was Moray Island, and that Etta Candy was there and Wonder Woman was going on a rescue mission. So yeah, I mean, part of why I ranked it as low as I did was because I do think that people are going to have a hard time with it, like you had a hard time with it.
Yeah.
So I couldn't rank it higher, but I appreciate what Tom King is doing here. You got to put in a little bit of effort. You don't just get to, show up and half-ass it.
No,
and understand what's going on.
He could have put it on the box. He could have put it on right on the front page. He could have put Moray Island school. We're not showing an island. We're showing a school, and then we're showing it could have been anywhere, and then people talking like this is just like, honestly, like, when I read this, I have no desire to read it. I have no desire.
You should stop reading Wonder Woman. I fully endorse you skipping Wonder Woman and not reading it. I fully endorse that. 100% endorse that. I mean, we've had this conversation so many times, and there are listeners. There are listeners that are comic book pros that when they talk about listening to our show and tuning into our show, they go, "Oh man, when you and Rocky talk about Wonder Woman, that's my favorite part." Like, they love it. They love it.
Well, whatever.
They love the back and forth. But
look, I will sing Tom King's praises on many of his issues, and I still like a solid 85% of what he writes. But this one, his Wonder Woman is just, I don't get it.
We'll sit down with him at San Diego, and you can be like, "What the fuck was going on in last week's issue of Wonder Woman? What the hell are you trying to say?"
Well, no, why would I do that? Because I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I want to understand what's going on, because that might mean that I might have to restructure how I've thought my entire life. I'd rather just be comfortable in my own little ignorance here and have you explain it to me every month. That would be much easier for me. You know.
Well, like I said, I fully support you not reading this book.
Yeah.
Just
Hey, bear in
just
mind, I put his Wonder Woman. I ranked it #1. Like, was it 2 months ago? I put his Wonder Woman issue.
yeah,
That Batman was his Batman Wonder Woman issue. I thought was excellent with Batman
yeah,
on Olympus. I thought those were excellent, excellent. But I ranked them at
yeah.
#1, so they were my
But
pick of the week.
but
So
the mouse man issues,
yeah,
last issue and this issue,
so
not so much.
yeah,
Yeah.
so hey,
What's funny is I was I've been sorting my books. I didn't do any this week, and I did so much last week. I only have, I think I mentioned, I only have like 6 long boxes to go. I didn't work on it at all this last weekend. I planned on it, but I just didn't get to it. I didn't prioritize it the way I did recently. But anyway, I just mentioned it because when I was sorting things, I came across my issues of first issue special, like the OG ones,
well,
uh, specifically Lady Cop, and it reminded me of when he did Danger Street, and how he took all those disparate characters from the first issue special and wove a really interesting, emotional, compelling story out of a
yeah,
bunch of, we can't
he
even
did.
call them B or C list characters. They're like Z list characters.
Yeah,
Like the blue skin Starman and the Dingbats of Danger Street. Like nobody knows who these guys. Like some of them are more well known, like Warlord and um, uh, who else am I thinking of? Um, the Creeper. Some of them are much more well known than others, but for the most part, they're not well known at all. And he did such a fantastic job, um, and so yeah, it got me thinking. Wow, he's such a talented writer. And then a couple days later, I read this, and as I'm reading it, I'm like, man, Rocky is just gonna hate this. Here's the guy that got that first issue special and took all those disparate characters and made it really
yeah,
interesting. It made sense, weaving all these characters together and whatever. And then we get Wonder Woman, who this should be a relatively easy read.
yeah.
But yeah, people are going to be like, what? Like,
Uh,
imagine a family went this last weekend and they saw the Superman movie, right?
sure.
And
Yeah,
the kids are right around like 10 years old, let's say, and they're begging their parents, hey, can we go to the comic book shop? Can we go to the comic book shop? I want to read some comics. I want to read some comics. Let's say a 8-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl.
uh,
And so the parents, they call a comic shop. Hey, what do you have in the way of blah, blah, blah. Well, we have this really great Superman story. It's just extra size treasury edition, really great for reading. And the next issue of what about the parents? Well, what about Wonder Woman? My 10-year-old daughter, she's really interested in Wonder Woman. Well, the next issue of Wonder Woman actually comes out this Wednesday. So they go to the shop this coming Wednesday, and the boy gets Hero for All, Superman Treasury
yeah,
2025, Hero for All, fantastic story. And the 10-year-old girl gets this issue of Wonder Woman.
yeah, yeah.
Mommy,
Sure. I
mommy,
know.
can you read this? Like, I don't, mommy. I think there's something wrong with my comic. They just
Exactly.
printed the same thing over and over and over. Like, I don't
Yeah,
understand what's going on. Now, hopefully, if you
yeah,
have a good comic shop, they're not going to be recommending for a 10-year-old girl, yeah, pick up Tom King's Wonder Woman. But you could, see a scenario where a young reader picks this up and is like just completely lost, completely lost. So
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
anyway,
But
everybody, that does it for the books that we're going to talk about in detail. I love that Wonder Woman was last. We got to talk about that
we
last.
got to rant a little bit, or I got to
Yeah.
rant, and you got
I,
to
I, and
straighten
again,
me
like
out.
as I was reading it, because it was the last book that I read, I was like, oh man, Rocky's gonna hate this. Um, but the funny thing is, like, having explained it to you, I I think if I had to re-rank, I'd rank it higher. Like, having explained it to you, it's come up in my estimation. But anyway, there is one other book. Well, actually a few. There's a fourth printing of the DC Sonic the Hedgehog crossover, which I think it's Tails is on the cover of that in a Superman costume. Anyway, DC Sonic the Hedgehog #1, fourth printing. There's a Batman 655 facsimile edition with action figure cover with Tim Drake. There's also a 2025 foil version of that, and then just a regular 655 issue as well. And then there's no absolute reprints this week, which I was really surprised about. But there's a couple of YA books, like YA novels, Warriors and A Wee Wonder, #1, and John Kent, This Internship is My Kryptonite, #1. And I'm really curious to read that John Kent one. It looks like he's getting an internship at the Daily Planet, so that might be interesting. Although probably not your cup of tea, Rocky, because it does have Jay Nakamura in it.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, Sam Camp writes the John Kent YA book, and Stephanie Williams writes the Warriors and A Wee Wonder, which is basically like a little girl version of Wonder Woman, like we've seen in the past. So those are the other single issues that are out this week. Then in terms of collections, there is a Superman Batman Book 1 Compact Comics Edition. And this is basically reprinting the Superman Batman, like the first arc from back in the day that was written by Jeff Loeb with that Michael Turner art when Supergirl shows back up for the first time, Public Enemies with President Luthor or what have you. So 304 pages. It is that compact comics format, so it's smaller size, $10. Superman Action Comics Phantoms trade paperback. This is collecting that Mark Waid recent Phantom Zone story that Waid did with art, mostly by Clayton Henry. There's also some Michael Shelfer issues. Batman War Games Omnibus, which collects the War Games storyline, which is basically a gang war between a lot of the gangs in the Gotham City criminal underworld. It originally ran in Batman Legends of the Dark Knight 182 to 184, Batman 631 to 634, and 642 to 644, Detective Comics 790 to 800, and then 809 to 810, Robin 126 to 130, Nightwing 96 to 98, Batman Gotham Knights 56 through 58, Batgirl 53, 55, 56, 57, Catwoman 34 to 36, Solo 10, Batman Ally Secret Files 2005, Batman the 12 Cent Adventure, Batman Villain Secret Files 2005, #1. So if that sounds like a lot of books, it is.
Yes.
1,120 pages for $125. Not the most well-known writers on this book at that time. I think probably the biggest name is Devin Grayson or maybe Bill Willingham, but Willingham's more known for his fables rather than his mainstream DC work. Also, Anderson, Gabrich, AJ Lieberman, and Dylan Horrocks round out the, as well as Ed Brubaker round out. He's probably the most well-known, actually, now that I think about it. But anyway, it was an interesting story, but it's very much of its time. It's, early 2000s Batman. Also, Shade the Changing Man is getting a hardcover. This is the Peter Milligan, Chris Bocciolo series. This omnibus collects the entire series, issues 1 through 37. So you got 992 pages for $125. And then we've got DC Finest Science Fiction, which collects a bunch of really strange Silver Age stories from Action Comics, Strange Adventures, and Mystery in Space. And we have guys like John Broome, Otto Binder, Murphy Anderson handling art, Jim Mooney. So very, very big name DC creators from back in the day. And then finally, the George Perez run of Wonder Woman is getting a second volume, collecting issues 15 through 24 and Wonder Woman Annual 1. So 296 pages for $40 if you're into that George Perez run of Wonder Woman.
Good run.
All right, let's give our final rankings. I've given Rocky plenty of time to bump Wonder Woman up on his list. I'll give him even a little more time by going first. So I'll start off with number 14. Again, this is a book that lost a lot of spaces just because of the art. Batman, Superman, World's Finest, number 41 comes in at number 14 for me. And second to last at number 13, also takes a big hit because of the art, is Absolute Flash number 5. Then we have Zatanna number 6, comes in at number 12 for me. That one, just for the density of the story, is why it kind of lost some faces, because it's got gorgeous art. But that one will read better as a trade, as we indicated. Superman Unlimited, again, loses some spaces because of the art. So that's issue number 3, coming in at number 11. Then I've got Batman and Robin Year 1, number 9, at my number 10 spot. Number 9 slot goes to Titans, number 25. Number 8 is Nightwing, number 128. Number 7 is Wonder Woman, number 23. Number 6, again, I really tried to find room for this in my top 5, just couldn't make it fit, is Gotham City Sirens, Unfit for Orbit, number 3. And then my top 5, coming in at number 5, Robin and Batman, Jason Todd, number 2. Fantastic Dustin Nguyen watercolors. Great characterization for all the characters involved. Number 4 is New Gods, number 8. Again, fantastic art. Great characterization for Isaiah. At number 3, and I have to leave this at number 3. It was my number 1 for the first issue, but it's just the strength of the top 2 books. I have to put it at number 3. It's Krypto, the Last Dog of Krypton, number 2. In my number 2 slot, and again, this was a really tough call between my 1 and 2. Number 2 is Absolute Batman, number 10, which leaves Detective Comics number 1099 at number 1. I absolutely love what Tom Taylor's doing on this book. I like it more than his Titans run, which maybe isn't saying a lot, but I like it more than his Nightwing run, which probably is saying a lot. I can't remember the last time we had this great of a run on Detective Comics. Like, I cannot remember the last time Detective Comics was this good. It's fantastic. This might be my favorite DC work from Tom Taylor. Like, he is knocking it out of the park. So, and it does help. I mean, Lee Garbett art is fantastic here, but it does help that the regular series artist is Mikel Janin, and I'm a huge fan of Mikel as well. So, all right, Rocky, give us your rankings. I know you had a chance to move Wonder Woman up, so.
Yeah. Even though there was only 14 comics we reviewed this week, I've decided to rank Wonder Woman at number 17. and three comics that I'll read later, I have ranked higher. But anyways, no. I feel compelled to say that not much happens in Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman finds out where Ada Kanda is, and decides to go there at the end. Anyways, Wonder Woman is number 14. Number 13 for Batman and Robin, Jason Todd for me. Number 12, Superman Unlimited, issue 3. Coming in at number 11 is Gotham City Sirens, Unfit for Orbit, number 3. Coming in at 10 is World's Finest. At 9 is Batman and Robin, Year 1, issue 9. Coming in at number 8, New Gods, number 8. Coming in at number 7 is Absolute Flash, number 5. Coming in at number 6 is Zatanna, issue 6. And then my top 5 are, coming in at number 5, Nightwing, 128. And coming in at number 4 is Titans 25. And number 3 is Krypto, Last Dog of Krypton. And number 2 is Detective Comics. And I had to go with Absolute Batman number 1 because it was just that awesome. It was epic. I had to go with it. Detective Comics is absolutely excellent too. DC is kicking ass when it comes to Batman. But I had to go with, I mean, honestly, I feel it was probably said before, but apparently I don't read my comics well enough. I didn't realize Absolute Batman was 6 feet 9 inches tall and over 400 pounds.
200 pounds. Yeah.
It's crazy, but good stuff. Scott Snyder is really doing a great job. Nick Dragotta's art, wow, great stuff.
Yeah, so we had the same top 3. We both had Krypto at 3, and then we just flip-flopped Absolute and Detective. But I easily could have put Absolute Batman at number 1. We could have had the exact same. Glad we didn't. It's nice to have different books of the week to give people, because I don't know, maybe there's people out there that only read our book picks for book of the week. Who knows? But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode, everybody. we have a lot of reading to do this week to try to get those other episodes in the can. Don't forget that if you're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con, this is only the second time that Rocky and I have ever attended the same convention at the same time. So if you're going to be there and you want to get a photo with us, we'd love to meet audience members in person. Like, be sure you're following us on social media so you can track us down. We'd love to get a photo with anybody who's there. Don't forget to comment and let us know what you thought of these books this week, particularly Wonder Woman. I'm curious. Are people Team Jace or Team Rocky when it comes to Wonder Woman this week? So leave some comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you know when new content comes out on Rocky's channel. If you're listening audio only and you're like, where can I see these smiling faces and this great art every week? Comic Space Boom ! Is the channel on YouTube. So just do a search. And like I said, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you want to check out the other content on YouTube from the Comic Source, you're going to want to search for the Comic Source on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe as well. Ring that notification bell. Always have new content coming out, especially in the weeks leading up to San Diego Comic-Con. I have a lot of interviews this week to do. People want to come on ahead of the noise of the convention. And then if you prefer listening audio only, the DC Spotlight, as well as all the other Comic Source content, comes out on our podcast feed that you can find wherever you get your podcast. Just do a search for the Comic Source and subscribe, and you have thousands of past episodes to listen to. So as always, we appreciate the support, everybody. Go see Superman. Tell us if you're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con. And if you're not, be sure to follow us on social media, especially the Comic Source Twitter. A lot of times when I'm in the DC panels, I'm live tweeting those DC panels, showing you the announcements as they're being made with the art that they put up on the screens and all that. So, that's going to do it. Appreciate the support as always. We'll talk to you next time.
Catch you later.